All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA offseason video, and I guess the last NBA draft video, because now we know where all these college prospects are heading. They are now pros, they are now in the NBA, they have their NBA teams. The first round is complete, the second round is tonight. Probably won't cover that unless something crazy happens, but we're going to go through the first round. I did my whole draft thing throughout the whole year, so if you want to check that out, you can. It's on the channel, it has its own playlist. But I just want to talk about not so much the players, since we've talked about them a lot this whole year in the last college season. I will talk about them, of course, but I want to talk about how they will fit with their new teams, because this is primarily a pro basketball channel. We talk about college every now and then, but mostly a pro channel. So we're going to get into that. If you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So let's get some things out of the way. First, there was some moving around after, I would say, like the top 12 guys that went. There was some moving around with some of the picks. The Grizzlies moved around. The Grizzlies are going to continue to move around. As of last night in the first round, they have pick 3 and pick 21. Obviously, you can see in front of you, they took Cameron Boozer with pick number 3, and they took Kareem Lopez with pick 21. And they're going to move around a lot of their second round picks as well. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I will also jump into some thoughts and maybe some news that I haven't been able to get to the last couple days with some of these teams. But other than that, let's get into the players and the teams. Obviously, the first pick was some mystery around it. The last couple weeks, I think it was pretty clear after the college season ended who was the number one pick. And then obviously as we got closer, there's rumors, there's buzz, there's all this stuff that goes on, and people try to like make it more complicated than it should be. And maybe the teams do that a little bit to themselves too. Obviously the Utah Jazz are at 2. AJ Dybantsa was the number one prospect throughout this whole process, dating back to even high school. He was the number one player in the nation, the number one player in college, the number one player in everybody's mock draft, or for the most part. And he went to school at BYU in Utah, so there was some buzz that maybe Utah would try to trade up, that Washington would trade down, this and that. You know, maybe even Washington takes Darren Peterson. That didn't happen. The number one pick, we all knew it. AJ Dybantsa, what a player, man. I'll say it here again, and I'll say it for the last time, hopefully. I think AJ Dybantsa is going to be the best player on his rookie contract. So that's 4 or 5 years, give or take, right? These first 4 or 5 years in the league, he's going to be the best player. Darren Peterson will probably be the best player in this draft 10 years from now. You know, I feel like Darren Peterson's ceiling is a bit higher than AJ Dybantsa, but AJ Dybantsa is a fully put together player, 6'9", 217 pounds, 26 points per game in college, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. His blocks weren't something that you would like, that would catch your eye. I don't think it's going to catch your eye at the NBA level either, but who knows? The defenses are a little bit different. His steals were pretty good, 1.1 per game, and he's only 19 years old. I think this was an easy pick. I have notes for this as well, and I think I just put in my first note here, I put AJ. Duh. Just like duh. Like, of course, it was always going to be AJ. I don't think there was, for me personally, there wasn't any like thinking that he wouldn't go number one. The only reason that he wouldn't go number one is that if the Wizards didn't have Anthony Davis, or if the Wizards didn't have Trae Young, and both those players are still on the team. So you take AJ Dybantsa, more of a wing player, you know, a 2-3 sort of guy. If the Wizards didn't have AD or Trae Young, I could see that maybe it would be a little bit more difficult of a decision, because Darren Peterson is the best point guard in this draft, or best guard wanting to be a point guard. Cam Boozer is the best like forward in this draft. You would take him if you didn't have Anthony Davis. Cameron Boozer and Alex Sarr sounded incredible. But we live in this universe where AJ Dybantsa goes number one, and he's what this team needs. We'll put it that way. You just strip everything down to the bare bones. without the veteran presence of Anthony Davis and Trae Young. You have Keyshawn George, you have Alex Sarr, and now you have AJ DeBanza as your young core, going forward for the next, hopefully, like 7, 8, 10 years, And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's a good fit. Let's look at the roster real quick. Hopefully this is updated for me. Let me see. Wizards. There they are. Let's look at their team. Trae Young also did sign a new deal. It's a it's a deal that takes him till, when is this? 2029, 2030. So it's a 3-year deal with a 4th-year player option. They're going to be paying him $56 million in the last year of that deal. Man, oh man, this contract isn't bad right now, but Trae Young's 28. He's going to be, what would that be? He'd be like 30, almost heading towards his mid-30s at the end of this contract. I understand why you did it. You have a lot of these guys on their rookie deals still. You're going to have to pay some of these guys eventually, but that's maybe 2 years, a year and a half from now when you want to get that done. Keyshawn George is going to be here. Let's see. Trey Johnson is going to be here. Bilal Coulibaly, his contract expires after this year, so he's still going to be on the team. Maybe they'll get rid of him to open up some cap space. Then Alex Sarr is here up until 2028 when they have to re-sign him to a new deal that summer, the 2028 summer. So yeah, it's a good team. Obviously, the Anthony Davis thing is still looming, whether he's actually going to suit up for this team. I think he will. I can't imagine the repercussions of him not wanting to suit up and not wanting to play because he hasn't been healthy. And Anthony is never going to be 100% healthy. But if he could put together a first full half of the season of basketball, good basketball, I could see them trading him at the trade deadline and then maybe trying to get some assets and obviously open up that cap space because Anthony Davis is making $58 million this year and then $62 million the next year. So yeah, that's it for the Wizards. Their coach, a matter of some interesting thoughts because he's going to have to balance the 2 timeline stuff where they really want to be good right now, but they're also going to have to make sure AJ develops the right way and some of these other guys keep developing the right way. And we'll see what happens there. Obviously, I'm not going to go through every one of these picks, every 30 of these picks. I'm not that deep of a draft guy. Probably after we got to like after 20, I was a little shaky on all these guys, so I'm not going to try to make up some stuff like I know any of these guys after 20, but we will try to go in depth on a little bit, at least on all these teams and all these picks. Number 2, Darren Peterson from Kansas, going to the Utah Jazz. Let's talk about Darren Peterson, then we'll talk about the Jazz. Darren Peterson, 25 points per game, almost 2 steals a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He's a score-first guard, and he wants to play point guard at the next level. And I don't know what the plan is for the Jazz because it's getting very crowded at all their positions, and it's getting very, I won't say awkward, but it's going to get very awkward because Keontae George is there. He's their point guard right now, the Utah Jazz. Darren Peterson wants to be a point guard. I don't know if they could like whisper to him and say, "Hey, just play the 2 for a couple years, and then we'll get you to play the 1 eventually." I think Darren is more of a 2. I don't see him as a 1 unless like you want to see him as like a Jalen Brunson, like a Jalen Green sort of like archetype guy. I don't know. I mean, he's 6'5", so he's not short by any means. I have to wait for I guess this is official. Yeah, he's 6'5". I have to see him next to other NBA players to know if he's actually 6'5", because they have Jalen Brunson listed at like 6'2", and he stands next to Steph Curry, and he is not 6'2". So we'll see if Darren's actually 6'5". When I see him next to other players. 19 years old, almost 200 pounds. He had a season where it was up and down with injuries. He had some cramping problems, but those are apparently resolved, and he has worked through those, and he has a remedy for them. So we will see what happens there. For the Jazz, let's look at their cap sheet here. They got a lot of money on the books. Got a lot of money. You got Jaron Jackson Jr. 49 million, Lloyd Marketing 46 million, Ace Bailey 9 million, Keontae George 6 million, John Conchar 6 million, Cody Williams um, 6 million, and then these are the other ones that like go down as we get into these other players. You also have Isaiah Collier, who's a point guard. So there's a lot of guards here, man. I guess they have Keontae George listed as a 2. So I guess Darren will get his wish of playing the 1. The 1 is one of the hardest positions to play in the NBA. I'm not saying he can't do it, but it's going to be very challenging for Will Hardy, who's the head coach of the Utah Jazz, to sort of integrate him into this team with so many people. Like Lloyd Marketing wants touches, Ace Bailey wants touches. Obviously, Keontae George wants touches. He was like borderline All-Star um, this season. There's a lot of there's gonna be a lot of sacrifice, and I'm not sure. I'm not trying to say anything about Darren Peterson because I don't know him that well, but I'm not sure Darren Peterson is the type of guy to sacrifice. He strikes me as the type of guy. Not I don't want to say this negatively, but like me. I know I'm the best player on this team. Give me the damn ball. That's just how he strikes me. And maybe he is a bit more giving in that sense of he would let his teammates shine, but I don't know. This only was his 2 assists a game. Not great for my point guard. Not great for my franchise point guard. And nothing for nothing. Like I guess Jaren Jackson Jr. is a bit of a distributor. I guess Lloyd Marketing can pass it. Keontae George, he's more of a scoring guard. It's gonna be interesting to see if they just go all offense and they're like, yeah, we'll just whoever has the ball just pass it, keep it moving, and we just have so many options on offense we can just get it to whoever, and it's gonna work out that way. I don't know. We shall see. Number 3, this is my favorite player in the draft, or at least out of the lottery for sure. Cameron Boozer, 6'9", 253, not even 19 years old. I believe he reclassified, so yeah, he's one of the younger players in this draft. Top 3 pick from Duke, power forward, center maybe, we'll see. Going to the Memphis Grizzlies, a great pick. The Grizzlies needed another big. Obviously, they picked it. I think they picked Karim Lopez is another bigger player. We'll put it that way. They have a lot of guards. They have a lot of wings. I like Cameron Boozer just because he looks like a heavyweight boxer. He has that body where it's like he's agile, but he's a bruiser a little bit. I really like what he brings. I didn't realize he was that young. He's not even 19 years old yet. He's gonna be 19 years old in a month. So by the time the season starts, he'll be 19. But 24 points a game, 11 rebounds. Wow, is that the most out of anybody in this round? No, Heinz Steinbach has 12. Yeah, and yeah. The most out of the lottery, we'll put it that way. I have nothing really to say. I've said all I can about Cameron Boozer. Do I think he should have gone 1? Do I think he's the best player in this draft? No. But I feel like he fits a archetype that is becoming more popular in that you want somebody who's big enough and strong enough to play the 5, but you also want somebody agile enough to play a bit of 4 maybe. I don't think he stretches the floor that well. His blocks are something that he needs to work on. I think he can work on that at the next level, especially going to the Grizzlies and having Zach Edey to back him up a little bit at the 5 spot if Cameron is still going to play the 4. And his steals are pretty good for a big. He has good hands. He has really good hands. And yeah, I don't have anything to say. That's the top 3. I mean, like I said, there could be some, moving around at some point, but I always thought this would be the top 3. And as we get into these later picks, I always thought this would be the top 5. Whatever, however we got there. Looking at the Grizzlies, just circling back a little bit, they do have the Ja Morant contract still on the books. I would hope he's not on this team come the start of training camp. I think him holding out or the team not being able to find a deal would be kind of bad. I feel like you need to wipe the slate clean. They still have the to resolve the Brandon Clark issue. Not issue, but the Brandon Clark situation. He sadly passed away. His money's still on the books. I assume that will come off and they will open up that space for somebody else. Damn, that's sad. I forgot about that Brandon Clark thing. Wow. But to bring into the future, um, you have Contavious Caldwell Pope, who picked up his, I believe it was a player option, so he's going to be there. You have the young guys, Zach Edey, Cedric Coward, Taj Gibson. Happy birthday, Taj Gibson. It's Taj Gibson's birthday. Scottie Pippen Jr. Scottie Pippen Jr., Cam Spencer, Gigi Jackson, Jalen Wells. This is a great young core. And we will see what the rebuild looks like continuing on. Obviously, like I keep saying, they got Krim Lopez at 21. They're one of the only teams here who had 2 picks in the first round. The Bucks being the only other team, if I'm looking at this correctly. No, the Bulls had one. The Mavs had one. Yeah, one of the few teams to have back-to-back or picks in the first round. 2 picks in the first round. Moving on to Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson is a player. I don't think I made a video about Caleb Wilson because he didn't play. But I believe he was either he didn't play or they were out. They were out of the tournament very early. Let me see. Yeah, he played 24 games, and in comparison to, let's see, look at Cameron Boozer here, who played 38 games. So yeah, he was injured. Yeah, I remember that correctly. So I didn't get to see. I literally, I think like the week before I started doing like my draft breakdown and stuff, he got injured, and I just wasn't able to watch him play. Like obviously, I watched him play like recreationally, like on my own time, not trying to make a video for it. But I think it was like a week before I started making those videos where he got injured and he was just out for the rest of the season. It's like, well, guess I'm not gonna know anything about Caleb Wilson. Ends up going number 4, 6'10", 211, almost 20 years old, one of the older players here. 22 points a game, 10 rebounds. This was the other option for the Grizzlies, where there was some buzz that maybe they could take Caleb Wilson and Cameron Boozer could essentially swap with him going to Chicago, but that didn't happen. And this is a pick that fits perfectly well with their roster. They have Josh Giddey. They have a bunch of other sort of, I don't want to say like ball handly guys, but guys who like to have the ball. I feel like Caleb Wilson is more of a bridge the gap sort of guy from defense to offense. They have some other things. They have a new coach. They have I'm blanking on his name. He's from the Blazers. You know who I'm talking about. They have him. They brought in Nicholas Claxton out of that Julius Randle trade. They have Isaac Okoro. They have Rob Dillingham. We'll see what he turns into. They have Noah Essengay, another 4. We'll see who. There's gonna be a fight for the small forward and power forward minutes. Montes Buzelis obviously gonna start, so that just leaves the other forward spot, which would be Noah Essengay's spot, or maybe even we'll see what Leonard Miller does. Is he on the books? Yeah, he's on the books for next year. That's a team option though. He might not even actually be on the team. But Caleb Wilson gonna get a chance to fight for a starting spot, and we'll see how he fares with a pass first guy like Josh Giddey, who will get him involved. They still have Trey Jones on this team. He obviously gets other people involved, and we'll see what the Chicago Bulls' new coach can cook up, because I really did like what he did last year, and I have to find out his name. I blanked on Tiago Splitter. Damn, I blanked on that one. Oops. Let's move on here. This is where it got, I don't want to say interesting, but this is where it sort of went off of where I think a lot of people thought the Clippers would go. There was some buzz that they might take Darius Acuff, but Darius Acuff was dead set on going to Purgatory in Sacramento, so he went there. And that sort of limited the potential for them to take a bunch of point guards. Obviously, if Darius Acuff was going to go to Sacramento, which he did end up doing, that leaves like Keaston Flemings for the Clippers, Mikael Brown Jr., Keaton Wagler, some other Braden Burries, and they ended up with the combo guard from Illinois, Keontae Wagler, 6'6", great size. That's gonna be really great next to Darius Garland. He has a great pedigree. I really like what I saw in the small sample size that I watched. I like what he saw. Doesn't look like he needs the ball in his hands. Is he going to get to play with Kawhi and learn from Kawhi? Maybe. We'll see what happens with Kawhi. But having some great centers already on the team for the Clippers, and then bringing in another guard, a bigger guard, which you definitely need next to Darius Garland if he's your future sort of cornerstone, is a great ask. It's a great get. And yeah, let's see what the Clippers got, because they were dispatched very early. I have to reacquaint myself with their roster here. Um, let's see. Still got that Bradley Beal money on the books. Yeah, this is a team that's gonna be weird. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of movement on this team. This team is not what I'm looking at right now. Isn't gonna be the team they bring in the training camp. They want to go young. They still have some older guys on the books. Like I would keep a Chris Dunn. I would keep like a Bogdan Bogdanovic just to have around, and maybe not Nicholas Batum, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, they have Niederhauser here, who I really like. They have what's the other? I thought they had another big. No, it's Niederhauser. Niederhauser's really good. Like him, we'll see what he can do. And this is just the start of their kind of, I guess, dipping their toes into a rebuild. And I think Keontae Wagler here, combo guard, I think he's definitely going to be a two for sure. He does possess some ones, but definitely a two in my eyes, especially if you got Darius Garland who's going to distribute the ball. Keaton Wagler can distribute the ball. 4.5 assists. Nothing to like be like, oh my god, he's like a really good passer, but he's gonna get the ball, move the ball around, not be a black hole, which I think is what you want. And we'll see what Tyronn Lue can do with him as well as a Clipper. Moving on to number 6, Mikal Brown Jr. I did not watch a lot of Mikal Brown Jr. 22 points a game, 4 rebounds, 6'4", one of the smaller guards in this. Yeah, in this top, one of the smaller players, not just one of the smaller guards, one of the smaller players in this top 10. I have nothing to say about him. He's going to go to Brooklyn. They're going to get to develop him. They're going to get to see what he's made of. They obviously have a plethora of young players, and we'll see if they have Michael Porter Jr. or Julius Randle on this team come the beginning of the season. But I really like what Jordi Fernandez has done over there. I think he's going to continue to develop these young guys, and if you don't want any pressure on you and you just want the ball in your hand, and we'll see what happens with the older players on the roster. They obviously already got rid of Nicholas Claxton, so there's a bunch of minutes opening up. They're going to try it. The Nets are going to be a weird team. They're going to run some weird lineups, and I'm here for it. It's a positive step in the right direction. Not reaching for a guy, just taking the guy who probably should have gone where he is right now. And then moving on to Darius Acuff, who I have thoughts. 6'3". I'll say this. He wanted to go to Sacramento. You don't hear that a lot. So I tip my hat to the young man wanting to go to somewhere where, I won't say he is wanted, because I think everybody else above him wanted, every other team above the Clippers, above Sacramento, wanted him. But he wanted to go to Sacramento, and Sacramento, I make a lot of jokes, but in all seriousness, I wish this young man nothing but the best, because, buddy, the owner sucks, the coach sucks, the GM sucks. You're going to be there for 5 years, and then you're going to find out after 5 years that maybe I should be somewhere else. It's happened time and time again, and we'll see. Maybe the Sacramento Kings will keep him around, and maybe they can try to rewrite the course that they made many years ago, where they traded Tyrese Halliburton, he turned into an all-star. They got rid of De'Aaron Fox's favorite coach and Mike Brown, and then Fox wanted to leave. Maybe they can get it right with Darius Acuff, and he can be a really good player on this team for the Kings. Not just a good player in the NBA, but just for the Kings. And maybe he wants that sort of spotlight. Maybe he wants to be a big fish in a small pond. I'm not gonna tell you no. I'm not. In 24 points a game, 6 assists, not great on defense. We'll see if they can get some defenders around him. Obviously, they have Keegan Murray coming back. They have DeAndre Hunter. They have a bunch of weird guys, and we'll see what can happen. I'm trying not to sing a different tune from when I did my video on him, but it's hard not to, because it's like, I know Sacramento, and Sacramento. I won't say Sacramento ruins careers. It's where people just go and you forget about them. You know, like Darius Akov is gonna have a week where he's really good, right? And then we're gonna forget about him for the rest of the season, and then he might pop up in like Rookie of the Year voting or like a power poll or whatever, and then he's gonna be forgotten about. You know, no offense to him, but that's just how Sacramento is, and Sacramento is a hellhole. And I'm sorry to Sacramento, but Sacramento fans, you get to watch this guy, so congratulations. Moving on to number 8, Keaston Flemings going to. Let me make sure this is right. Keaston Flemings, yeah. Keaston Flemings going to Atlanta. I'm surprised they took another guard, but hearing the people at the table talk about this after they made the pick kind of made sense. I was kind of on board with this. Played under a good coach at Houston, 6'3", 18 points per game. Average numbers across the board: 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, almost 2 steals. He's young. It's interesting that they took a guard because this signals to me that they obviously they're gonna try to keep Nickeil Alexander-Walker for as long as possible. This sort of rings the bell to me that maybe Dyson Daniels isn't completely safe in Atlanta, and Keaston Flemings might be the Dyson Daniels replacement. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. It's just a thought. I thought maybe they would have gone a big, because there no. I mean, outside of Boozer and Wilson, no other big was taken, and there were a bunch of really good ones left on the board. So I thought maybe they'd go big, but I understand it. We look at their team. Let me go to Atlanta here in the Southeast Division. We look at their team. Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, who's on a monster deal. Wow, that's a lot of money. They bring back CJ McCollum, who Flemings can learn from. They have Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They have their other number 1 pick, Zachary Risache. We'll see what happens with him. They have, let's see, Corey Kisper on a longer-term deal. So we'll see what happens with them. I think there's going to be a lot of wiggle room for them, and seeing where they can try to fit in Keaston being a top 10 pick. As we move into the double digits here, we finish the top 10 almost with the Dallas Mavericks taking Morez Johnson, a Michigan guy. This is very important because they just hired the former Michigan head coach who just won a national championship with obviously the Michigan players, in Dusty May. And the buzz all is they're going to take Yaxel. They're going to take Ade Mara. Adea? I think it's Adea. Ade Mara. Adea. I don't know. That was the buzz. And then surprisingly, not so surprisingly, but sort of surprisingly, Morris Johnson got taken by Dallas. 18 points per game, 10 rebounds, was really good in that national championship game. He's 20 years old, 6'10", power forward center. That power forward center spot for the Dallas Mavericks is getting really, really, really dense. You have PJ Washington, you have Daniel Gafford, you have Derek Lively. I guess it's an insurance for all those guys because, like, if you're going to keep one of those guys, you might as well have another younger backup. And Morez Johnson, who, when I saw, they said the name and I was like, who's that guy? And then they showed his face. I was like, oh, that's the guy from the national championship game. He was really good, and he was really good. And pairing him with Cooper Flagg is going to be amazing. They're both very athletic. They're both very. I mean, Cooper's not stout yet, but he's very long. And Morez is a combination of both those things, long and strong. And man, I think this was I won't say this was a sneaky pick, but it was a smarter pick than going like a less mobile big in Yaxel and Ade Mara. Not to say Yaxel and Ade Mara aren't, mobile, but Morez, I think, sort of fits more that style. And obviously, it's a pick that Dusty May is very familiar with, being his former player in college and now his pro coach in the NBA. Moving on to 10. After we get past 12, we'll start to get through these a little bit faster because we're already at 30 minutes. But at number 10, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks got pick 10 originally, and then they got pick 13 from the Giannis trade. So they double up on their picks here. With the first one, they take Braden Burries. I did not watch a lot of Braden Burries, but he went to Arizona, and I feel like Arizona produces some of the best NBA talent low key. So that's all I'm going to say about Braden Burries. They were saying on the broadcast also like they're going to run like supposedly the Bucks might run like Braden Burries and like who else would they say? They said somebody else. Braden Burries and somebody else, and I was like, wait, you guys are forgetting about my favorite Buck now, I guess, which would be, um, oh, they were talking about Braden Burries and Tyler Hero backcourt. I was like, what? Huh? You guys are forgetting about Ryan Rollins, the best Milwaukee Buck last year. Like, come on. But I think Burries and Ryan Rollins would be great together. I mean, I think it's just Ryan Rollins and Tyler Hero and Braden Burries all in that room together, backing up each other or starting for each other is going to be a really interesting experiment for Coach Taylor Jenkins. So we'll see what they can do there. And then this is another pick. Which one did I say? I said Morez and I said Yaxel were like my favorite picks. And obviously Cam Boozer, like I said, is my favorite player in this draft. But at number 11, the Warriors take Yaxel Lenenberg for one. For one. What a name. What an amazing name, Yaxel, amazing name. And then Lenenborg, from Michigan, power forward, 6'10", 241, 23 years old, gonna be 24 at the beginning of the season. Yeah, 24 at the beginning of the season. 18 points per game, 3.9, jumps out of the gym. Great physicals, great tangibles, and great intangibles as well. But man, this is what the Warriors needed, and I understand he's a bit older, but guess what? The team's a bit older, so it works. They needed a forward. They're gonna miss Moses Moody for majority of this next year. They're gonna miss Jimmy Butler for half of the next year, probably half of the next season, probably. So you bring in Yaxel, a smart big, a really nice big, and just somebody who the Warriors haven't had. And I was trying to think of the last big forward they took, like the last big like actual like big body center they took. And, and I had flashbacks of um, Patrick Baldwin Jr. I had flashbacks of obviously Jim, what's his name? James Wiseman. I had flashbacks to that, and I think Yaxel has the potential to be one of the better bigs the Warriors have drafted in many years. Obviously, you have Quentin Post, but he doesn't really play like a big. I think Quentin and Yaxel together be really nice. Be very, very nice for the Warriors. And we switch over to a Demara who was taken by OKC at number 12. This is just a reaction to what the Warriors did. Whoever the Warriors took, that's who the Oklahoma City Thunder would take after. The Oklahoma City Thunder also after a big man, so a Demar was a duh. Of course, you take him. 7'4". He's 7'4", 260 pounds. They're saying this guy's gonna be the Wemby stopper. I don't know about that. I won't put that much on him as a rookie, but who knows? The size alone could just be good enough. And then obviously, this is the only. I believe this is the only. No, they took Bennett Sturt. So the Oklahoma City Thunder still accumulating a lot of money here, and it's going to be interesting to see who they have to let go. But they have plenty of replacements on really good deals. So shout out the top 12. These were most of the players I knew, and now we get into the guys. We're just going to blast through these really quick. Nate Ahmet, who in my one prediction that I thought was going to be pretty bold and ended up not being bold, goes to the Bucks, who I said this, I think either way, whether Giannis was still there or Giannis wasn't there, Nate Ahmet is a long-term project. I think he's going to be fine. I like Coach Jenkins unlocking Nate's potential. I like the crew they have around. I guess the young core would be like Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Ryan Rollins, and now you add Nate Ahmet. It's a really good start to a rebuild. And there's rumors that they could trade Tyler Hero to a third team. We'll see if that happens. They get even more assets from this draft, or maybe in the next draft. The next draft not as good as this one, but I think this is an incredible start for the Bucks, and I gotta give them a round of applause for finishing out this first round with two really good picks, and then picking up a guard and a project forward. Moving on now to some of these other guys. We'll blast through these. Heinz Steinbach going to Charlotte. Don't know much about Heinz Steinbach. Was it Hans Steinbach? Yeah, Heinz Steinbach going to a very competitive team last year. I know the record didn't show it, but Charlotte continues to build on the talent they have, and they're adding another forward. And I mean, 12 rebounds a game is good for anybody, especially for a team who likes to run. If he can just get the ball and kick it out down the floor, amazing. Dalen Swain going to Chicago. Bennett Sturz being picked up by the Oklahoma City Thunder, a point guard, 6'3". We'll see if he actually gets any playing time or if he's a project, going to be in the G League and stuff. Abuka Okorie going to the Pistons. Christian Anderson going to Charlotte. Alan Graves going to the Raptors. Jaden Quaidance. This is one I want to spend some time on. This is another one. Jaden Quaidance. By all reports, Jaden Quaidance will probably, I'm going to put a bold prediction out there. He's going to get surgery on his knee. His right, I believe it's one of his knees is messed up. It's I hate to be so like graphic, but it's like disintegrated almost. They're saying it's just a cleanup surgery that he's going to have. I don't believe that. I think he's not going to play this season. And that's a big hit. He's only 19. He's going to be 19 at the beginning of the season. His intangibles, especially on defense, is really great, and you hope he can play. This is something that we thought was going to happen where he slid down the draft board. If he was fully healthy, he would have been a top 10 pick, but he wasn't, and his knee is messed up to Lord knows the real messed up nature of his knee. But if I trust anybody to get somebody healthy, it's the Spurs. They have great doctors. The only blemish on their resume of not really having good doctors is the Kawhi situation, which was also sort of a knee injury. But hopefully those people are gone, and the Spurs have brought in new people. And even their GM said, we had doctors look at him already. We think he's fine. It's just a cleanup surgery. We'll see what Jaden Quaidance can do. 6'10", 253, 19 years old. We'll see what happens. Karim Lopez going to the Grizzlies. He is the highest player of Mexican descent ever taken in the NBA draft. So congrats to him. He played in New Zealand in like the Australian League, but he is of Mexican heritage. So congrats to him. The Blair and Phylon, people are saying this is a steal for the 76ers. I don't know about that. You got a lot of guards now. I guess you're sort of making up for the mistake of trading Jared McCain, but we'll see if LeBaron Phylon can be anywhere near Jared McCain. Zubi Afori is taken by the Atlanta Hawks. Cam Carr, this is another one people are saying is a steal. He was supposed to go to New York, and then New York traded it to LA, so we'll see if LA is actually going to play this guy, because they've done a lot of these. They've done a lot of these. Oh, my thing that's not good. We'll get out of here quick. We'll see if he's actually going to play. They've taken a lot of these guys, like, what's his name? Jalen Hood-Schifino was another guy who was taken by the Lakers and just never played. We'll see what happens there. Sergio De Lara going to the Mavs. Tyrese Reed Jr. going to the Spurs. Chris Nack Jr. going to the Celtics. It's another steal to keep an eye on. Joshua Jefferson going to Brooklyn. Alex Caravan going to Sacramento. And Koa Pete finishing out the first round. That is it. That is my first round video. A little breakdown, talking about the teams and stuff. This recording has been a little rocky for me. So I'm going to get out of here. We'll jump into these guys a little bit more as we get towards Summer League, but that is the end of the 2026 draft for me. Thank you guys so much for following along. Thank you for watching the draft prospect videos as well. And yeah, this is not the end for these guys. This is just the beginning. So I hope all these guys have great careers and all these guys stay healthy. The end screen should be playing right now. Check out the playlist on the left. Check out the playlist on the right. Check out the video on the left. If you click my little icon right in the middle screen, a little subscribe button will pop up, and you can subscribe with ease. Like and comment as well, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.